All right, so we're diving deep today into this EU AI Act, specifically what it could mean for UK businesses. Now, we've had a lot of you asking about this. You know, even if you don't directly work with the EU, could this still impact you? And from what we've gathered here, it seems the answer is probably yes. This thing has some serious global reach, kind of like what we saw with GDPR,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. GDPR, remember how that one sent shockwaves through everyone, even companies outside the EU? Well, this AI Act, it's got that same kind of global vibe.
So let's break it down. First things first, what's the EU even calling AI in this whole thing?
Well, their definition is pretty broad. I think that's smart, you know. It helps make the legislation more future-proof. Basically, it's any machine-based system with varying levels of, well, autonomy. And the important part, it generates outputs, predictions, recommendations, decisions, and those outputs have an impact, you know, both in the real world and the virtual one.
Okay, so hold on. We're not just talking robots here, right? This is like algorithms,
Mm-hmm.
software making decisions, even those you might also like suggestions online. That counts.
Exactly, you got it. And to manage all this, you know, such a wide range of tech, the EU came up with these risk categories, different AI, different level of scrutiny. Makes sense, right?
So let's talk about these risk categories. What's the quick breakdown for all the business leaders tuning in?
All right, so there are four main levels: minimal, limited, high, and the big one, unacceptable. Minimal risk is your basic stuff, spam filters, that kind of thing. Limited risk, we're talking maybe chatbots, image processing software that's involved in making decisions, you know, like those systems scanning your ID at airports.
Right, okay. So that's all relatively low risk. What bumps us up to high risk then?
High risk, that's where the stakes get a lot higher. Think systems involved in, say, credit scoring or educational assessments, managing critical infrastructure, things like that. The impact on individuals, on society as a whole, it's much greater.
And I'm guessing unacceptable risk. That's pretty
Yeah.
self-explanatory.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the stuff the EU is just like, nope, too dangerous. Social scoring systems where they judge people based on their behavior, banned. AI designed to be manipulative, out of here.
All right, so high-risk AI is definitely getting all the attention. But here's the question for our UK businesses. What does this mean for them, even if they're not directly selling into the EU?
Well, that's where Article 19 comes in. It's very specific. If you're dealing with high-risk AI, you need what's called a conformity assessment, and you need it before you even enter the EU market.
Conformity assessment. That sounds like a whole lot of paperwork and hoops to jump through. What does that actually involve?
Think mountains of documentation. You've got to gather evidence. Might even need to, like, totally overhaul your development processes. It's not a joke.
Yeah.
And the penalties. Let's just say they've got teeth.
Okay, so ignoring this isn't really an option. What kind of penalties are we talking about here?
Fines. And big ones. They can be a percentage of your global annual turnover, even up to 7% in some cases. It's structured similar to GDPR, but the numbers can get, well, scary.
Yeah, that's a hefty price tag. Definitely something to take seriously, even if you're outside the EU. But let's zoom out for a second. Is this all just about regulations and fines? Or is there a bigger picture here?
This act, it's bigger than just fines. It's making waves. Globally, people are talking about AI ethics now, about privacy, about data security, and, you know, the EU is kind of setting the tone here. It's like what happened with GDPR. It went global, became the standard. This AI Act could do the same.
So even if a UK company isn't directly affected by these EU rules, their international partners could be. And that puts pressure on them to comply anyway, right?
Precisely. Think of it as a ripple effect. Starts in the EU, but those ripples, they're going to reach far beyond. Yeah, it really is like a domino effect. Starts in one place, then boom, everyone's got to pay attention. So smart UK businesses, they're already looking at what they need to do to get ready, even if they think, this won't touch me.
So practically speaking, what are some steps they can take, even if they aren't directly selling to the EU?
First things first, figure out where your business fits into those risk categories we talked about. What kind of AI are you using, developing? You know, if it's just basic stuff, minimal risk like spam filters, you're probably good for now. But if your systems are a bit fancier, you know, limited or high risk, gotta start planning like yesterday.
So a company using AI for, say, credit scoring, they better be paying attention.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. High-risk AI, that conformity assessment process, it's crucial. And it's not just about tricking boxes, you know. It's about making responsible AI development part of your company culture, like baking it in. Ethical implications, data security, bias in your algorithms, all got to be on the table.
That's a great point. But how does a company even begin to build that kind of framework?
Yeah.
Responsible AI development, it's a pretty new concept for a lot of folks.
Thankfully, there are resources out there, you know. Organizations like the ISC2, they've got tons of info, training programs, workshops, all geared towards helping companies navigate this AI Act stuff. They can really help businesses get a grip on the requirements and, come up with strategies.
So, no need to reinvent the wheel. There's help out there.
Yeah.
Experts.
Exactly. And don't forget about those conformity assessments themselves. I know they sound kind of scary, but there are consultants, legal eagles out there specializing in this AI compliance stuff. They can hold your hand through the whole thing.
Probably a good idea to get those folks involved early on, right?
The sooner the better. Seriously. Bring in the experts, they'll look over your AI systems, your processes, and make sure you're on the right track from day one. Makes the whole thing a lot less painful.
Sounds like solid advice. So we've talked about risks, about compliance, about all the serious stuff. But is there an upside here for UK businesses? Can they actually, benefit from this whole shift towards responsible AI?
That's the cool part. By really leaning into the principles of the AI Act, UK companies, they can actually gain an edge,
Yeah.
become leaders in ethical AI. That's attractive, right? To investors, partners, the best talent, everyone wants to be on the right side of this.
Yeah, it's like a seal of approval. Hey, we do AI the right way.
Bingo. A big differentiator, especially on the global stage. And let's not forget about all that innovation, all that skill development we talked about. That's happening right here in the UK. Universities, research hubs, startups, they're all pushing the boundaries of AI, doing amazing stuff.
So the UK is in a prime position to be a leader in this whole responsible AI thing.
Absolutely. By embracing these principles, these ideas in the AI Act, UK businesses, they're not just mitigating risk, they're unlocking opportunities, building a whole thriving AI ecosystem that benefits everyone, businesses and society. It's a win-win.
That's a fantastic point. And it leads us perfectly into our next topic. After the break, we'll explore the long-term implications of the AI Act and what this all means for the future of AI regulation globally. Stay tuned.
So we've been saying, this EU AI Act, it really could be setting a global standard, like GDPR did for data protection. And it sounds like the UK is in a good spot to be a real leader in all of this. What do you think, long term, what kind of implications are we looking at, and what's going to happen globally with all this AI stuff? Well, the EU, they might be the first ones with these big sweeping regulations, but they won't be the last, I guarantee you that. We're already seeing other countries starting to have these conversations. The US, China, everyone's trying to figure out this whole responsible AI thing.
Yeah, and it makes you think, right? Like, the companies that jump on this early, they're going to have a real advantage down the road, no matter where they're doing business.
Oh, absolutely. And the UK, they've got a strong tech scene already, and they seem committed to this ethical AI thing. They could really shape those future regulations, be the example everyone follows.
So it's not just about, checking the boxes and being compliant. It's about being the thought leaders, the pioneers in this whole new world of AI.
That's it exactly. Proactive steps now, and UK businesses, they're not just avoiding risks, they're opening up doors to whole new opportunities.
Okay, so let's say there's a UK business leader listening right now. They're thinking, all right, I need to get serious about this. What's the first thing they got to do?
First thing, don't freak out. Take a breath and assess. Look at what you've got going on AI-wise. What systems are you using? What are you building? Then figure out where they fit in those risk categories we talked about. That's your starting point, your roadmap.
Makes sense. Get a clear picture of where you stand, and then you know what applies to you.
Exactly. And don't forget, there's help out there. Organizations like the ISC2, they can walk you through it, give you resources, guidance. You don't have to go it alone.
So you're not just thrown into the deep end here. There are experts ready to help.
And the sooner you reach out, the better. Get ahead of the curve, be prepared. It's a whole new world out there with all this AI stuff happening.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about risk categories, this conformity assessments, even how UK businesses could become global leaders in all of this. It's clear that this EU AI Act, it's a big deal.
It's a wake-up call, honestly, for everyone. The Wild West days of AI, they're over. It's time to do things the right way, Make sure this powerful tech is used ethically and that it benefits everyone.
This has been a fantastic conversation. Really appreciate your insights.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us for another deep dive. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and we'll see you next time.